Howdy, guys, and welcome to Survivor Season 41 and a recap of Episode 6. And welcome to Cliff Notes from somewhere off the island. All right, we're down to 12 people left on this island. We've already gotten rid of 6. Seems like it's going pretty fast, but a compressed season. They didn't spend as much time on the island. A lot of action-packed activity. We got a lot more happening tonight, so let's get right into it. First of all, let's talk about the tribe that's doing great, the tribe that's not doing so well. We have not seen Team Luvu go to tribal council yet. They don't even have their torches yet, and they're 2/3 of the way or a third of the way through the season. But meanwhile, poor old Team Ua. Those folks, they're down to 2 tribe members. They're down to Shan and Ricard are all that's left. Unfortunately, they sent Jeannie home last week. Jeannie was a little too trusting. So now we've got Shan and Ricard. You'd think that when there's only 2 of you left, you kind of know who has to watch each other's back, right? Well, maybe not so much in this particular situation, because as we see after tribal council, Shan and Ricard are still going after each other. And it all has to do with that extra vote advantage that Shan had gotten from JD. She gave it to Ricard to hold on to as a bit of a trust measure. And now Ricard's a little hesitant to give it back to her. They don't trust each other. This has continued to create friction between the 2 of them. Paranoia is kicking in. It's got to make everyone worried. You want as many advantages as possible. I get it from both sides. I certainly understand why Ricard doesn't want to give up the only power that he's got right now. Shan, certainly understand why she wants as much power as possible. If I'm Shan, I'm demanding that advantage back. I'm saying, look, I got you back. We're good. Don't think this doesn't mean it, but I'm not giving up anything that I don't have to give up. Ricard isn't seeing it quite that way. I'm worried these 2 could potentially go after each other at some point in time. Now, if I'm Ricard, I think here's what I'm doing. I'm telling Shan, saying, look, yes, I will give it back to you. I promised I would, so I'm going to give it back. Yes, you've got both of these powers, both of these advantages. But Shan, the power that I have is I know that you have those advantages, and I'll keep my mouth shut as long as you and I are like this. But if we ever come at odds with each other, my power is the information I hold. You'd have to be careful, phrase it not as a threat, but just as a way to make Shan think a little bit about it. But we'll see how that works out. Definitely, even with 2 tribe members, they're still going at each other. I love Survivor. All right, Team Yaze. Team Yaze gets excited because they think that there's a merge happening, and they're kind of right. They are down to 4 people, 3 women and Xander. Excited about the merge. Of all the people on that tribe, Xander should be the one most excited. I don't think he realizes how close he came to getting booted. Liana's wanted to vote him out. She's talked about how she feels like she's missed out on a great chance to send him out the door. Xander has powers. He's also the only guy left on a tribe with 3 women. He didn't have much life left in this game if they didn't have a merge. So from Xander's standpoint, he doesn't understand just how lucky he is. But they're all excited about the merge getting ready to happen with that happening. And Team Luvu. Team Luvu, the team of riches, as I mentioned before, they haven't even sent someone out the door yet, or off the island, I guess, in this case. And now here we are coming to a merge. There's 12 people left. Half of them are Team Luvu. That is a team of strength. Remember last week and the week before, Danny and Deshaun were wanting to vote Erica out, throw the competition so they could vote her out. This is why you don't do it, because even if you don't trust her, now half the people left on this island are Team Luvu, who you would think would be at least somewhat supporting of yourself. So certainly the tribe of power for this particular season. Now, I've got to say, the fact they have not gone to tribal council yet, I think that's very dangerous for Team Luvo. They haven't been forced to send someone out the door, which means they haven't also been asked to display loyalties to one person or disloyalty to another person. So if I'm Team Luvu, they don't really know who they can trust and who they can't trust. Promises are easy to make until you have to back it up with a vote for or against, and they haven't had to do that yet. So as powerful as this team is, I still think they're in a little bit of a disadvantage in some ways because they haven't been asked to prove their loyalty to anyone else in that tribe. But we're going to find out what happens with this merger, because all three tribes come together, and Jeff tells us before he talks to the tribe mates, castaways, that a big old twist is coming up. I guess they have filmed this a little bit differently this season. We've got a lot more interaction with Jeff Probst talking to us as viewers and kind of giving us some heads up, some rumor or not rumor, giving us a little information about what's getting ready to happen. I kind of like that. Jeff Probst has been on this show long enough. He's part of the island. He's part of the show, right? So for him to interact with us a little bit more, I'm all for it. I kind of enjoyed the season in the way they've changed it up a little bit. So Jeff's telling us, a little bit of twist coming. It's not going to be quite as easy as these castaways think it's going to be. And sure enough, once they all get together, we discover that, there is going to be a bit of a merge, but nothing's guaranteed in this season, guys. And you have to earn your way into the merge with a competition that's getting ready to happen. And it turns out this competition, another classic Survivor type competition out on the sand. They have to dig up a huge boulder. Picture one of those big old medicine balls that you may have played with in high school or junior high or whatever. Big old boulder they have to dig up. They have to roll it up underneath a key that's hanging from a pole. While the rest of the tribe steadies it, one person pops up and grabs the key. They then have to push it over to a platform, at which point everyone can jump up on the ball, get up onto the ramp or get onto the platform, and then help each other run up a ramp to get to the very top where they have to solve a word puzzle to win the whole thing. So it's a fun little competition. It involves teamwork, physical skills, etc. Just what we expect. Now, only two teams competing. So at this point, everyone's merged together. They have a random draw to find out who these two teams are. 12 tribe mates, 6 players per team. That'd be too easy. No, they don't do that. There's only 5 players per team, which means we got 2 outcasts. So it turns out drawing rocks to find out who is on what team, and 2 unfortunate people. Fortunate? No. 2 people draw a gray rock, which means they're not on either team. They're going to be sitting this competition out, which we'll talk about that. So they're split into 2 teams. The winning team at the end of this competition gets a big old dinner. Remember, they're not getting rice or anything this season, so food's important. They get a big old dinner, and they are safe from the next eviction. Wink, wink. We'll talk about that. Safe from the next eviction. Everyone on the losing team, on the other hand, is at risk. Someone from the losing team going up to tribal council. So consider this a reward challenge and an immunity challenge both this week. And those 2 players who don't get to play, the 2 that drew the gray rocks, their fate is going to be decided by the winning team, because the winning team gets to pick one of those castmates to join them on the winning team, enjoy the feast, enjoy the safety. The other castmate, that old schoolyard pick, the other castmate's going to be left behind, have to go out on an island, hang out for 2 days all by their lonesome, and be at risk. When they come back, they'll be on a losing tribe, which is potentially going up for eviction, going to tribal council, potentially going home that particular week. So who drew the short stick? I suppose a short straw, gray rock. The 2 people who drew the gray rock and are sitting out this competition are Erica and Nasir, 2 members of Team Luvu. You would think with half the team members being Team Luvu, I'm not surprised that one of the 2 gray rocks is pulled by someone from the blue team. But I don't know. I was kind of surprised that both of them were pulled from that team, which is going to make the dynamics a little bit interesting as we go forward with this particular episode. So Eric and Nasir are not competing. The other 2 teams, it's interesting how sometimes randomness affects the way these teams are composed. The blue team is a pretty stacked team in terms of athletic prowess and everything else. We've got 3 guys. We've got Danny, Deshaun, and Ricard on the blue team. The yellow team has who's that? Shan and Tiffany, Heather, Liana, and Xander. So we've got some athletes with the women. We've also got some people who they may play a more social game than an athletic game. Let's just say it like that. But Xander's the only guy on this particular team. Not poor Xander. Xander does just fine. But it's interesting. Xander was on a tribe, he and 3 other women. So certainly there were a bit of a gender gap there, which puts you maybe at risk a little bit. Now suddenly he's on a team where he's the only guy on the team. It's just interesting how things work sometimes. But doesn't matter. The competition starts off. The blue team with the three guys, takes an early lead. They're rolling the ball. They're grabbing the keys. They're up on the platform fairly quickly. The yellow team, not through lack of effort. They're fighting. I don't fault anyone's competitiveness at this point in the season. They're all fighting hard. They just don't quite have as much strength, which turns out you need in this competition a little bit. They get behind. Eventually, though, they do catch up. By the time they get up to the word puzzle, it's a little closer. It's almost neck and neck, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the competition, the blue team has won. They end up winning the competition, and so they're pretty happy. They're getting a meal and they're safe from tribal council. So big important victory for those guys. But here comes a big decision. The winning team has to take either Asir or Erica to join their team, to eat with them, to gain safety. Now, I really suspected that probably they would take Nasir because you've got the rest of the blue team in there who had already talked about wanting to send Erica out the door, right? So it seems like a natural if Deshaun and Danny have their way, they're going to grab Nasir and pull him onto their tribe, let Erica go out the other way. But you don't know the other members of the tribe. Ricard, for example, if there may be some influence to try to go the other direction. Well, it turns out it's not the case. They come back, and I can't remember. I think it was Danny who said, "Yeah, we like both of them. They're both from our team." Because remember, I said if only one of them had been from Team Luvu, the other one had been from another tribe, maybe you could have had a vote, and you say, "Oh, the majority won out," and that's how we're saying. With both of them from Team Luvu, makes it a little bit tougher to, again, display your loyalty or your lack of loyalty for the first time this season since they haven't been to tribal council. And so Danny, trying to cut it all short, comes back and says, "Yeah, we can't really decide between these two. They're both from our team. We like them both. So we just did rock, paper, scissors. And based on that, Nasir, you're joining us. And sorry, Erica, but it's just random draw." I don't buy that for a second. I think later in the episode, they finally admit, Danny says, "Yeah, no, that was just a polite way to do it. We just wanted Nasir," which is what I suspect at the time. So Nasir's incredibly happy. He's happy because last week he had tried to create a little bit of a bond relationship with Danny and Deshaun, and I'm sure he feels like it's paying off now because he's gotten pulled onto the winning tribe. We see some little confessionals, and Nasir's pretty happy. Nasir's feeling pretty comfortable about his spot in the game. Don't ever get too comfortable in this game. But poor Erica, she realizes that she's the one hoofing it over to this island to hang out, and she gets to that island, and it is desolate. She's got just a little bag of rice. Even worse, just a little jar of water. When you see that your water just comes in a little container like that, that's got to really hit home that you truly are just, you're just often isolated, nothing, no frills island out there hanging out for a couple of days. I know it's only an hour-long episode, and it's probably boring to see someone stuck on a beach where there's nothing to do, but I would have liked to see just a few more minutes of how Erica spent her next 2 days on this island with absolutely nothing to do except ponder what's going on the other side, worry about it, get paranoid, everything else that happens on that island, just like it happens inside the Big Brother house at times. But Erica is stuck there. And here's the problem. First of all, we as viewers know that Erica is already pretty much at the low end of the totem pole for Team Luvu. They were ready to throw a competition. They wanted her gone so badly. But it's even worse because now everyone suspects that if she's going over to this island by herself, that she's got to come back with some kind of advantage, right? There's something she's going to get an immunity idol or some kind of power that's happened every time someone has gotten sent off from the main groups. And so everyone's a little bit suspicious of Erica at this point in time as well. So that creates a little bit of a concern. But while Erica's doing that, let's talk about what's happening back on the main island itself. We've got the losing tribe, which we'll call Tribe Yellow. I don't know what the new tribe names are yet. Maybe we'll see if that comes along later. But the losing tribe, who's at risk? Well, I think Shan is alone. She's the only member. Ricard's on the new blue tribe. Shan's the only member of old Team Uwa on his tribe. So you would think that she may be a little at risk being all by herself. But she has the immunity idol and she has that extra vote advantage. So I feel like she's got some protection. The key is, would she use it if it came down to tribal council? Being by yourself, I would be tempted to, but who knows? But she's a little interesting. Now, Xander also has a bunch of advantages and people that know about those advantages as well. And Liana. Remember last week, Liana got that advantage where she can ask someone a question. Do you have an immunity idol? Do you have an advantage? If she asks you that question at Tribal Council, you answer yes, you have to give it to her. Now, we also saw Liana last week talking about how she really wanted to get Xander out the door. So even with Xander having these advantages, it may not help him if Liana asks that question and takes his power away. But that comes down to the big question. Liana wanted to dump Xander while they were part of the same tribe. Now that we're getting into these big mergers and such, does she still want to dump Xander, who is a big competitive threat and everything else? Or would she perhaps want to protect him for a little bit longer because he is a teammate, and it seems like he's still wanting to work with his teammates as well. So he may not be as fast to vote out Liana as she's wanting to vote him out. So I don't know, from her standpoint, do you take his advantages? Do you boot him out off the island? Or do you hope that he'll kind of protect you and watch out for you if you leave him alone for a little while? Yeah, well, we'll find out. And we may not find out this episode either, right? All right. So we do have that. Now, during the feast, here's something to keep in mind. During the feast that the winning tribe is having, Danny mentions his fear. He vocalizes it. It's not even just a confessional off to the side. I don't think so. I think he says it out loud a little bit. He mentions his fear that Team Yaze was evicting all the guys. And so he later says, we kept Nasir for that reason, amongst other reasons. And it is funny. I hadn't really thought of it, but we've only got 4 guys left on the in this cast, and 4 guys. Yeah, I think it's 4 guys and 10 women. Not 10, 8 women. Oh, sorry. 7? I don't know. Can't even add up right now. We certainly have more women than we do have men, and it's primarily because of Team Yaze, which was down to 3 women and 1 man left. So we do have Danny a little concerned that you got this gender disparity that may come back and haunt him. So he's looking at it from that standpoint, and you get an insight into maybe how he's going to vote coming up this next tribal council. He wants to protect the guys and let the guys build up a little strength as well. Danny's a huge target, and as long as you're in 3 separate tribes or even 2 separate tribes, you may want to hold on to your strong players because they can help protect you when it comes to tribal council and such. But we're getting into more of the end game. Right? We're mid-game right now. We've merged from 3 teams down to 2. Pretty soon we're going to go from 2 tribes down to 1. As soon as that happens, you want to boot the most powerful guys that are going to win immunity and such. So Danny's got to be a little fearful that if all the other strong alpha male kind of guys are booted out, that it puts him at risk for the rest of the season. So he's already thinking about that quite a bit. But as Danny talks about that and about really wanting to protect the men for a little while with this, it makes me wonder, once this tribe goes to tribal council, are they going to target Evie and Sydney, the 2 women on the tribe? They may be in a little trouble as a result of this. I love the game that Evie's been playing so far, but I feel like she's kind of riding a bit of a tightrope, because as well as she's playing, I also feel every week like for some things that may be that she's done, some things just weird coincidences, randomness and all that, I feel like she's always just a little bit at risk every week. And first time this tribe goes to tribal council, I could see her potentially being a little bit of risk as well. So meanwhile, that's the winning tribe. The losing tribe, who had to go back, didn't get any food or anything else. We got a little bit of a faux pas that happens, I think. Remember, was it last week, Shan and Liana kind of bonded while they both were at the island? Sean ends up giving Liana the ability to win the advantage that now she can steal this advantage or idol from someone else. So they bonded a little bit. Well, they're both on the losing tribe. Shan comes up to Liana and asks her, says, so did you get the advantage? I've protected my vote so that you could risk yours and get this advantage. Did you get it? All right, fair enough. You asked a question. I'd be asking a question as well, but I wouldn't ask it in front of other people. And that's what Shan does. She asked Liana that question in front of Tiffany, and that's it's a mistake on Shan's part. Information's gold in this game, and she should have just done it privately, I think, with Liana. The 2 of them have bonded. Why involve anyone else? But she did. She asked in front of Tiffany. So now Tiffany is upset because Leon doesn't have any choice but to say, yeah, I got it. Well, now Tiffany realizes that Liana had this power, and she didn't tell Tiffany about it when she got back from the island. So Tiffany's a little perturbed about it. Liana's a little perturbed about it. They're both. Tiffany's upset at Liana. Liana's a little upset at Shan. So almost immediately they break up a little bit out of the trio. And Shan immediately asks Liana for all the details. And Liana tells her, says, I can steal into danger and idle if I ask the question. But of course, Tiffany's not going to just let this sit, right? She's not just going to go off and say, well, she got something. I don't know what it is. No, Tiffany immediately grabs Liana and learns the truth about just how powerful, how it's so powerful. Learns how powerful this advantage is that Liana has. And Liana doesn't like that Tiffany has immediately interrogated her, quizzed her strongly on just what it is. So she doesn't like that. Liana isn't trusting Tiffany because of that. Tiffany certainly isn't trusting Liana since she didn't tell her when she got the advantage. We're seeing a lot of friction amongst some of these people this week that should be fairly tight and working together. And again, not always as easy as it looks. So let's now talk about Erica getting ready to head back from the island. We're going to have a tribal council, or so we think. It sure seems that Erica is the big target this week. Everyone, first of all, as I mentioned before, everyone's worried that she's coming back to the island with some kind of advantage that she found during her exile. So that worries everyone. The guys on Team Luvu already were talking about throwing a competition to get her out. So they certainly are ready to target Erica. And finally, the non-Luvu women who normally maybe would support, trying to protect women, but they're all happy to see Erica head out the door just because it's a member of Team Luvu. If you're not on former Team Luvu, you're someone else from Team Ua or Yaze, I would be so worried that the old Team Luvu with the numbers is just going to pick everyone else off. So when they start hearing word mention that, yeah, we're gonna send Erica out the door, they're overjoyed. Yeah, absolutely. Send her out the door. Let's take the old Team Luvu from 6 people down to 5. Perfect. Well, it sounds fantastic. Now, suddenly, if Team Luvu only has 5, Team Yaze, Team Ua combined have 6 people. Now they got the numbers if it ever comes down to a merge type situation in one big old tribe. So there's just a lot of people that are happy to send Erica out the door. It's not looking good for Erica at all. Not looking good for her one bit. But we also see an interesting extra little development. Now, remember, Danny already talked about he was worried about the gender numbers being a little bit different right now in favor of the women. Well, we see another conversation taking place. This is between Deshawn, Danny, Liana, and Shan. And they're all thinking that as people of color, that they're going to work together and help each other out as well. I've already heard mentions in social media and such that in Big Brother this season, we had the cookout. Now on the Survivor Island, we've got the camp out. And that's I thought that was kind of a cute little name for this group of 4. So we've got these 4 saying we're going to work together. We're going to protect each other, with our shared, similarities and objectives and all of that. I'm curious to see how that's going to work out because, yes, Big Brother and Survivor have some similarities, and that's cutthroat, ruthless game and all that. Big Brother, though, when it comes down to eviction, there's only 2 people you vote for. If you have everyone in a tight alliance like we have the cookout, it's a little easier to sway the vote to all vote the non-cookout person out. It's not the same in Survivor because in Survivor, when you get to tribal council, anyone can get voted out, unless you use an idol or something like that. Anyone is potentially subject for eviction. And so it's a lot harder to concentrate your votes on one person and necessarily have the same effect. We'll see. I'll be curious to see if these 4 stick together until the very end, or you find yourselves a little bit at odds or not in the majority, and we'll see how it works out. I'm really curious to see how this works. But these 4 have said, we're going to work together. We're going to protect each other as much as possible. And finally, just to wrap this thing up, we haven't had a vote yet. We haven't had a tribal council, and you see the clock ticking away on the episode time left. And sure enough, Jeff Probst shows up on Erica's island. Erica mentions that Jeff normally doesn't show up when we have exiles and things like that. So she's figuring something's going on. We all know something's going on as well. He shows up and learns that, yes, indeed, you're not getting off this island without at least having an option to take a really strong power. It turns out that she has the power to reverse everything. Kind of like old Big Brother, you hit the reset switch, you start the week all over, except it's even more powerful than that, because it's not just a matter of going back and repeating everything that's happened. You get to flip the results. If Erica chooses, she can, some kind of hourglass that Jeff turns over. If she breaks it, whatever. The key is that if she chooses, before she leaves the island, she can vote to flip the winning tribe and the losing tribe, so that all those people who thought they were on the winning tribe and were safe this week, instead, they're going to be on the losing side. Erica, who was supposed to be on the losing side, now is safe from eviction this week, or exile, or getting voted off. And she's part of the losing team that now becomes the winning team. So what about this power? I don't know. I go hot and cold with it. I like it just because it's a new twist. It's something that we haven't seen before. It certainly is going to be a big gotcha moment. I don't know exactly when she announces it, when Jeff announces how this has worked. Can you picture if they all go to tribal council, and as they sit down, at that point, Jeff says, well, funniest thing, we flipped this thing. It's going to be real curious if that's the way it happens, and they don't know ahead of time, and they don't get to strategize or work out plans or anything else. They may find out earlier. We just don't know yet. But all the team who thought they were so safe, these three guys, Sydney and Erica, who thought they were, and Nasir now as well, thought they were safe. Now, one of them is going home at tribal council, which doesn't happen until next week. Yeah, we've got a bit of a cliffhanger, if you want to call it that. But is there anyone that really doesn't think that Erica's going to use this power? She's got to use it, right? Yes, I understand that if she uses it, she's going to have all these Team Luvu former team members that make up the majority of this tribe that are going to be upset with her. They're going to feel betrayed by her. But would you really be so upset or be so think it was such a wrong decision for Erica to make the decision that protects her? Nah, you can't hold it against her. I think she's got to use this power. She knows she's on the bottom. She talks about the fact that she's probably going home. So she's going to use the power. I have zero doubt. We're going to, how mad would the producers of Survivor, Big Brother, how mad would the producers of Survivor be if Erica said, nah, I'm good. Nah, I don't want to use this twist. I don't see that happening. She's going to use the power. Suddenly it's going to be a whole nother flip. So what happens? What happens once these tribes flip? Who's in trouble now that the tribe going up for tribal council has been reversed? As I mentioned before, I think it could be Sydney or Evie as potential, because I think these guys are really going to be wanting to send a woman home. Is Evie going to be able to reach out to Xander and maybe say, look, we're tribe mates. We watch out for each other. We've got to protect our numbers. Why don't you use one of those powers on me and help me out, Xander? Xander really felt like he was tight with the three women on that tribe, but could she convince them? I don't know if he's willing to give up his advantage or not, but I think Evie's going to have to work a little magic to make it happen. Sydney, I don't know. Sydney kind of was one of the ones that threw Erica under the bus. She had tried to work with the three guys. I feel like they maybe would protect her over Evie, but we're going to find out. So a little bit of a cliffhanger in that we don't know who's going home. No one's gone home this week, but not so much of whether Erica's going to use the power or not. She's going to use it. If she's not going to use it, there's going to be a whole lot of judging and criticism and everything else. But we're going to find out next week. Until that time, guys, think of all the scenarios. Think who may be going home. Hey, post on the comments out here on my channel. Let me know, who do you think's going to go home next week? Because I don't know, I'm really curious to see what y'all think. I think Evie could be in trouble. We'll see what happens. So until then, guys, y'all have a fantastic week. I will see you next week for episode 7. We'll find out who goes home. Until then, SKD 143. Y'all have a great one, guys. Cheers, my friends. Bye.